All righty, team. Welcome to Paths to the Pros, brought to you by Blueprint to Bluechip, where we build the human being underneath the athlete. One of the very first questions we get when we work with student athletes as well as their families is, what does it take to get to the pros? Our quick answer is we don't have a secret formula. We don't have a magic bullet, but what we do share with them is the fact that you got to embrace the suck. You got to embrace the process. You have to understand there are no shortcuts and you cannot cut corners. And tonight, we're super excited about our guest. But first, I'm Thomas Rose, sports performance coach and co-founder of Blueprint to Bluechip. And with me, as always, my co-founder and CEO, Aaron Sarles. 25 years of Fortune 500 executive consulting and sports mom, and the woman who helped me build Blueprint to Bluechip. Tonight, we're talking about everything every athlete in the room needs to hear. Not just what it takes to get to the pros, but what it takes to win after the pros. Because here's the truth. The game will end, and the question is, what did you build while you were playing? And who are you when the jersey comes off for the last time? Tonight's guest answered those questions and then built an entire company to make sure the next generation doesn't have to just figure it out alone. Welcome to Path to the Pros, and tonight in the room with us is former NC State Wolfpack standout safety who went on to play for the Houston Texans and the National Football League, Shawn Boone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're super excited to have you here.
Hey, thank you guys for having me, Thomas and Aaron. Appreciate the opportunity. I know we just literally connected and met, 2-3 weeks ago, and you guys reached out to me in regards to this opportunity, so I don't take it lightly, and hopefully we can add some value to you guys' organization and just do the best we can.
Absolutely. We're super excited, and there's no doubt you're going to be able to help us as well as get the message out to the athletes, families, coaches, and those that need to hear it. Shawn is the founder of Boone Financial, helping families, athletes, and businesses owners build financial security and generational wealth through life insurance, retirement, and estate planning strategies. He's the vice president of Next Gen Up, a nonprofit dedicated to mentoring and empowering the next generation of young people. He is a partial owner of EC77, continuing to grow his entrepreneurial footprint beyond the game. A man who took everything discipline, resilience, and leadership on the field and what it has taught him and off the field, and turned it into a mission to build financial power and legacy over others. Shawn Boone, welcome to the Path to the Pros. Tell us a little bit about who you are and where you grew up.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm Shawn Boone from West Palm Beach, Florida, born and raised. And now I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, backed by the Wolfpack. So, who I am, I'm a son of my mother and my father, Veronica and Shawn Boone. And we, I have a sister as well, along with 4 nieces as well. So, I'm a son, I'm an uncle, I'm a pastor's kid, I'm a friend, I am, a servant, that someone that just always want to show up for the people in my life, no matter what. So, that's who I am, just as a person.
I love that. One of the things that Aaron and I talk about with a lot of these athletes, especially when they retire or when the phone stops ringing or the ball stops bouncing, your identity is not who you or what you play to the position or the sport you played. It's who you are basically on who you came up with in your family.
Yeah. And that's one thing my mom always shared with me, because I think, we was having that conversation, before we decided to do this, to where one thing that my mom always was concerned with is who I am, not in between the lines, but who I was on the sideline.
Right.
My body language, what was my mental like, because a mother knows her son.
Right.
And so one thing she always told me was I always want to make sure your head is in the game. So she still tells me that to this day, because being in business, being in the entrepreneurship space, it's the same mental battles that you have on the field. Football is 85% mental and the rest is, physical.
Right.
Now, entrepreneurship, I think, is 90%. Let's just go with more 100% mental more than it is physical in my space. So my head always has to be in the game.
Right.
And when it's not in the game, you can tell, you can see that. And so you need good people, good support systems, good outlets to be able to, share, how you feeling or what's going through your mind when your head's not in the game.
Right. Shawn, tell us what it was like growing up, dreaming about playing at the next level. I assume you were probably 2-3 sport athlete. And then what was it like wanting to go to play at high school? And when in high school did you know you wanted to play in college?
So I was 8 years old when I first started playing football. Music was my first love.
Okay.
So I was always in the band and the orchestra, growing up in school. I started playing the drums at 5 years old. So I always watched sports because I had cousins that played sports. So I would go watch them play, whether it was basketball, whether it was football. So I really learned from them. And then I would always watch TV and watching ESPN, watching those things. So I was like, hey, I told my parents, like, I want to play football. And my dad took me out there, and the organization was called Lake Lotto, where I'm from. And I started straight into tackle football, and my dad paid $120 for me to play.
Okay.
But it wasn't like it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was 100% first day of pads. There was a kid named Shawn Russell. I give him credit to this day for almost kind of like who I am and why I was the way I was on the field, because he hit me on the first day of pads, and I had literally thought my rib, I swore my rib was broken. And I laid on the ground, I cried, and I was just like, nah, this is not for me. So one of the coaches came over. His name was Coach Marvin. He was talking to me, and then my mom came over, and she was like, baby, it's okay. If you don't want to play, you don't got to play. You don't have to do it. And then my dad was like, boy, I played $120. You better get back up and go hit him. So from that day on, I was like, I'm going to be the person that's going to deliver the hits and not get hit. Now, I played running back and all the other offensive positions, but I was like, I'm not taking blows like that ever again in my life. And so, if you watch my highlights, that's the backstory.
I love it.
Why I just knock people out.
I love it. I love it. So then you're playing football in high school. The recruitment process starts, and this is something that's real important to the families and athletes we work with. Tell us about the top 3 schools that were recruiting you, and how did you pick NC State?
Oh, goodness. You really want to know that story? I hope they don't hear it. So coming out of, South Florida, football is all you want to do. And I had a great coach who's, going on to win multiple championships. Luckily, I was, a part of a championship team and a big piece of it. And, we went to William T. Dwyer. All the schools come there because we had Nick O'Leary, we had Jacoby Brissett, we had a lot, Kirk Magid, we had a lot of big time, guys that went on to play big time football.
You guys were stacked.
Yeah. And so we was one of the best teams in the state of Florida. And so seeing those guys set the standard, my freshman year in high school when I was coming to work out with them, I sat down in the weight room and they said, you don't sit down in my weight room. I was like, oh God. And all these dudes are 6'4", and I'm only 5'9", 5'8". And so just watching them get recruited and go through that process, and now it's my turn. I got my first offer my sophomore year from Dave Dorn, who's the coach at NC State, but he was at NIU at the time. And so I started accumulating all these offers, and by the time I got to the end of it, the top schools were Penn State, NC State, and Arkansas.
Wow.
So I got recruited by Ohio State, and everything. But one of my friends went to Ohio State, and I was like, well, everybody looked at us as like a package deal, but I wanted him to have his own identity, and I wanted to have my own identity.
Right.
And so I committed to Penn State, but then Bill O'Brien had wound up leaving and going to the Houston Texans that year in 2014, 2015 time when I was going into my freshman year. And so I was like, well, looks like NC State it is, because my high school coach, my high school coach and Coach Dorn, they're best friends. And then one of the guys that I got really close with when I committed to Penn State, Troy Vincent Jr., his dad is Troy Vincent Sr., the vice president of the NFL. So like me and him got tight, and then he decommitted from Penn State and called me and was like, hey, I'm going to NC State. So I was like, well, I guess this will make a great story, to go to NC State. And then my boy Jacoby Brissett was at NC State because he had transferred from Florida. So it was like a lot of like South Florida and North Carolina. So I was like, oh, the heck with it. I might as well go to NC State. That's how I wound up at NC State.
I love it. Tell us who believed in you early, before the offers, before the roster spots. Who saw it first?
I'll say it started in Little League.
Wow.
Yeah. Like the coaches I had in Little League, they always like spoke life into me. And then I had a cousin who played sports, but like if my parents couldn't do something, like he took me everywhere. So he bought me my first pair of cleats. Like, he took me to practices sometimes, and he lived about 25 minutes away from me. So he'll get off, stop what he doing to make sure I get there if my parents wasn't, able to do it. And then the coaches I had, Coach Tom, Coach Terrence, Coach Marvin, Coach Mark, the teams I was a part of, it was always a standard and a championship standard. So it kind of like molded me into like a championship style player. Like I always a part of championship teams.
I love it.
And so, they always spoke life into me. And then I just wound up going to Dwyer, where the standard didn't change from Little League, to high school.
Right.
So Jack Daniels is, was my high school coach, and he was the same way, that speaking life into you. So I just always had a good community, good coaching, and good people, that always wanted to help me get to the next level. So they saw it in me before I really started to like think, that I can do it. But my mindset was like, look, I'm going to the NFL no matter what, because we're from South Florida and that's what we do. So, like that was it. I was trying to be like Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed. My game plan was I was going to play 12 years in the NFL. I was going to be married my third year in the NFL. I was going to have kids by my second contract. Like I had it all mapped out based off those players, but God had other plans. So.
He always does. It's amazing because coaches have the ability to make or break a young athlete. And that's one of the things we like to talk to our athletes and our families about. Other than the $120 initial fee your dad paid, what did your family sacrifice to get you to where you were going?
Oh, everything. I mean, time, definitely time. As you guys know, you guys are parents. So like the driving, getting off work, taking them to practice. My mom would take me from band practice after school to making sure I had all my pads in the car. So when I leave band practice, then I had to go to the field. And my dad, he was a pastor. So he was at church. So I'm going from practice to church to play the drums. And then like Friday, you get Saturdays, you get Friday nights. Like they're not missing much. They will move things around to make sure I got to get to where I get to. Or if they can't move things around, like I had a community that in a village that always made sure I need to get to where I got to.
I love it. All right, so walk us through your career at NC State. What did those years build in you from the time you got there to the time you stepped off after your last game?
Oh man, some people may be on here that's I invited them on here, so it's kind of they get to hear it for the first time. So
I love it.
my level of gratitude to the relationships I built at NC State, like our 2014 class, was one of the majority of us are still tight to this day, and so my freshman year, like we all like made a pact to like work the hardest, change everything at NC State because they won three games before we got there. So we was like everything is gonna start with us. And we always worked hard. We worked together to make sure like we was our best selves and we competed with one another. Whether it was the D line, the DBs, the wide receivers, like it was like we're gonna do this thing together.
Right.
So like my freshman year, that's where it really all curated. And then, I played as a freshman on special teams. And like my goal was always, if I'm on kickoff, I'm making the opening tackle of the game. Like that was my goal. And that's what I did. Like every single game, I opened up the game with a tackle.
Love it.
Until teams started catching on and started double teaming me. So like that's my freshman year was like, but I got to watch guys, selfishly, I didn't think they were better than me. They just had more experience than me. But then as I started to, it's always say this now to even new agents I'm getting into my business. I'm like, hey, like this business is like a sport. So if you run track or you play football, do you focus on the result or do you focus on the process?
Process.
And so if we've gone focus on the process, like that's what we have to focus on and that's what we can control. It's just the process.
Right.
And so that's what my mentor, his name is Abe Elam. He played in the league for about 7 years. And that's one of the things like he taught me my senior year was to practice and prepare like a pro.
Right.
In high school. And so that's what I always like tried to do. Well, that's what I did, not tried to do. I did it, to prepare like a pro. And so that was my focus, like as a freshman. And that was my mindset. So I had a slight edge to where it's like, all right, I'm watching these guys in front of me. They may not be better than me, but hey, what can I do? What can I do for my team? How can I help the guys that are in front of me, be better? Whether they take from my perspective or not, I'm just going to serve them. That's all I could do. And so eventually I got into my sophomore year. Things started to go well for me where I got to start my first game, which was a whirlwind against Clemson. And then, I wouldn't say I played the greatest. I could have played better, but it was a lot.
Oh yeah.
They required a lot out of me from playing special teams to starting on defense, and it was a whirlwind. And so, I just always made sure I was prepared for the moment whenever my moment came. So started sophomore year, and then I wound up tearing my hamstring.
Oh.
Towards the back end of the season, in practice, wound up just tweaking it. So now I got time to, learn how to take care of my body because I've never been hurt before. That's not something I really struggled with. And then I get to my junior year, and then it was just like uphill, from there, where I always was just consistent. I was one of the voices of the defense, making sure everybody, was in the right position. I knew what the D-line was doing. I knew what the cornerbacks was doing. I knew everything, because I had to prepare like a pro. And then my senior year, all of us from our freshman class are now like running, we running the show. and we held each other to a standard to where we're gonna show up week in, week out. And you know, a lot of those guys are now in the NFL, and you know, we are very tight to this day, and they in their ninth season, and I look at it, I'm in my ninth season of being out of football. You know, so like I match it up, so I'm trying to learn as much as I can. You know,
Sure.
the things I didn't do in college, you know, just was to learn the things that I know now. So that was like my 4 years of college.
I love it. And what was the biggest moment of your college career? Not the stats, the moment.
Oh God. Oh, it's so many. I think I would say I think I would 100% say my first interception was a pick six.
There you go.
That's a tough. It was tough. The reason why, like the backstory is, like you know, still to this day, I really don't like this jersey because I didn't. It was a moment in that jersey to where it's like I felt like I let my team. Well, I did let my team down by not executing that we could have won a big game. And so what I did was like, I got my eyes fixed. I started wearing contacts. I started catching a lot of, you know, I started practicing like a receiver. So
Okay.
that moment won't ever happen again. So the next time it did come, which was the next season, you know, I catch the ball and I score. And now my team, like I'm like, okay, I'm in my bag now.
Right on. Right on.
So yeah.
The ACA is a league competition. What did playing in that conference teach you about yourself?
Oh, you got to show up. Like there is no day off.
Right.
Like you have to show up, and you know you got Lamar Jackson, you got Deshaun Watson, you had oh my God, you had who am I?
Is it the kid out of Jacksonville at Clemson? Trevor Lawrence? Did you play against him?
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, and like I'm probably missing some dudes, but like we had Louisville, Florida State. Yeah, Florida State. It was like a lot, like week in, week out. You had to earn it. Boston College, you know, Syracuse, you know, Carolina, like all these schools were like really good schools, and we had to show up. I had to play against really good receivers and guard them. You know, my senior year, they asked me to change positions from playing safety to playing nickel in the slot and covering fast people 80, 90 snaps a game. And I'm like, I'm not fast, but I'm going to just be smarter than you.
Right.
So you don't run past me. And so I wound up playing 3 positions like my senior year, which I did a little bit of like my sophomore year. Yeah, I see a comment, Jameis Winston. Like we didn't have any slaps. Dalvin Cook. Oh my God. Yeah, and I'm getting PTSD. like I would stay up 2-3 in the morning trying to prepare for these dudes. And so it was, oh yeah, Notre Dame Hurricane game. Yeah, like it was no joke that we had to show up and play ball. So that's what it was like in the ACC, where you had to be on your A game. If you wasn't, yeah, it'll be a long day in the office for you, and coaches. That Sunday meeting won't be fun.
Yep. Shawn, when did you know the NFL was a real possibility? Not a dream, but an actual possibility.
Whether it was a possibility or not, I believed it was a possibility.
There you go.
Just because of like I said, in South Florida, it's kind of like it's football or nothing. That's like how the brain is wired. Even though they always say you should have a plan B, we didn't believe in that. Like that's not a thing. And I don't think from anywhere, if any athlete thinks they're good enough, like it's plan A.
Right.
Like there is no plan B. And we're going to, like, it has to work or it has to work. So, I got to a point to where it's like, all right, my senior year, like I am talking to some guys, and we had we had an amazing D line who brought the attention, to us. Like all four of our D linemen, that was from my freshman class, all got drafted from the first to the third round.
Nice.
And so, like those guys, like brought attention, and so like I felt I was good enough, but they just made it a little bit easier for me,
For
right?
sure.
To at least get a shot, and then the connections, and resources that I had, it was like, all right, I could get a shot. I know I'm not the fastest, but I know how to play football.
Right.
So if I just get the opportunity, I'll be grateful for it.
Well, I love it. So walk us through the moment you found out you were going to the NFL, the Houston Texans. What did that feel like?
Oh yeah, it felt terrible. Because I watched the whole draft from round 1 to round 7, and it was kind of like you kind of know you getting drafted or you're not getting drafted. So it was like one of those situations where like I was seeing all these DBs and I wrote every single last name down, that if I did get my shot and I did get a real opportunity, like I'll make it work, So I think I was outside throwing the football, and then they had called saying like, "Hey, we're gonna invite you to rookie minicamp," and I was just like, "Dang, like it's real. I get a shot." That's all I could really ask for is a shot in that moment.
Right.
So it felt good, and then traveling out there, being in the facility, putting on the helmet, being on the practice field. It's like I got a cup of coffee, but a lot of people don't get the opportunity to even show up to the coffee building.
Right. Well, hold on a second. What was it like walking into an NFL facility for the first time as a professional? I mean, you spent all those years in high school preparing, you get to NC State, now you're walking into an NFL facility. What's that like?
It is a dream come true because you play Madden a lot,
Sure.
You play NCAA, dynasty mode, growing up, that at that time you had to import the draft classes and then send it over to Madden. So you just think about all the things that you did as a kid and, how much work you put in to be like, all right, I have an opportunity, to make a name for myself, or,
Sure.
at least give them all I got so I can, they can say like, hey, we want to bring you back, or like, not give them a reason not to bring me back. Let's just say that. So it felt good. I was ecstatic, to be, I started in rookie minicamp along with a 3rd round pick, and I don't think it was much difference between me and him. He was just drafted in the 3rd round, but it was an amazing opportunity. And one thing I remember is Bill O'Brien saying in that first meeting, he was like, if I recruited you out of high school to go to Penn State, it doesn't matter now. And I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna go great. I was like, we don't have to say that. And so the DB coach recruited me from Penn State, and he was at the Texans. So, it was like, I was like, dang, I at least gotta get to, training camp, because y'all recruited me in high school. I thought I was going to have a little edge, but, it didn't work out that way. But I'm grateful for the opportunity.
That's awesome. What's the hardest part of being a professional football player that the fans watching from the outside would never understand?
Yeah, that's why I don't like sitting in the stands at football games. The hardest part is like the preparation that guys put in. Is like I watch a lot of my teammates that have now played 8-9 years in the league, and even the ones that played 3-4 years, and the preparation that goes into it is like it's a lot. It's not just ABC 1, 2, 3. Like it's not 2 + 2 = 4. Like it's really 2 + 2 = like 10. Like because all the moving pieces. And so a lot of people won't understand that. And they're fans. It's not for them to really understand. Like they've just come in to show up and cheer for their team.
Right.
And so as players, we understand it, but we just don't like the criticism behind it, but we know it's part of the business.
Yep.
And we can only control what we can control, which is doing your job.
That's it. So Shawn, we got a question from one of our colleagues here. He wrote, how do you see NIL and revenue sharing impacting students today or today's athlete compared to when you played college ball? What would be your advice to the students and their athletes today?
Well, I did a talk for NC State last year to talk about how they are in the best time to take advantage and set themselves up for the future. Like we had to make 10, like I was I got FAFSA, so I got a little bit more money than people who parents was making money, right? You know, kind of use my dad's income, but so like I was able to get some money, but I had to make $10,000 stretch for 6 months.
Oh boy.
Like, you know, and then you ecstatic about when they bring out the Pell Grant and the per diem. Like you were happy about that.
Right.
And so like my mom would always tell me like, hey, save $2,000 out of the money you get. I'm like, no, we're going to the NFL. Like, we're not stressing about that. And I would buy Jordans every single week. And so what I told them is like, don't do what I did.
Right.
Like, save 50% of your money and live off the rest. It's like, because we really thought like the money we were getting was amazing. And so now that they have this opportunity, it's a blessing and it could be a curse 100%. It just what the family has to do is find people that actually care about your child as a human being and not just an opportunity to make money off of them.
For sure.
And so what like I said, I had a mentor my senior year, and he always did a good job of making sure that I knew the business behind it. So a lot of students right now, like a lot of these, I just had a conversation with a kid today because I still work out with NC State's football team. And one of the kids, he said, I have a financial advisor, like I got family, but I just still don't understand the language.
Right.
I want to learn it. And so you have like these kids are not going to follow the whole focus on your craft and let me handle it. Like that's a lot of them not going to let that fly. Now, some of them will, but it's just the families have to find people that want people to see them succeed after the game and make the money like last longer than they play, because the college money is short-term money.
Right.
The goal is to get to the long-term money, but that may be the only money you receive.
Right.
So we have to make sure like we're good stewards of it and not being greedy and thinking that there is more to come, because like you don't know when football is going to expire.
No doubt. We're already starting to get some questions coming in. I can't wait to ask you some of these questions. But before we get into that, this is our last question about the transition. When the game ended, who were you? Walk us through that transition, honestly, when you had to walk away from football.
I thank God for my community. I thank God for my family, because like I always just kept myself, like I was always working out.
Right.
I was around like my friends and all my friends that made it to the NFL, like some of my teammates. And if they had a camp, if they had something, like I'm traveling to go to be a part of their camp. I'm traveling to go like watch their games, because I started to realize like at that point, it's like, all right, football, like I trained for 2 years and didn't get another opportunity.
Wow.
And so it was one of those moments where you like, all right, this thing ain't chasing me no more. Like I'm chasing it, and
Right.
it's not chasing me. And so I say, like, I thank God for my support system and whole, because I didn't really have to start thinking about who I was, because I already knew who I was. Like I knew I was more than football. I just didn't know what it looked like. Like I knew I could be a coach because I was the smartest defensive player on the team. Like I knew I could like do other things in the football realm, be a trainer, but it was like I feel like there is more that I can go after. And luckily I met the right person who was able to put me in position to extract and explore the different gifts I already had that I was using as a young kid. I was just now exposed to it.
No doubt. No doubt. We got a question from Malik. He's a junior. He's going into his senior year. He's starting to get some looks and some NIL opportunities. And he asks, Shawn, what's the one financial mistake athletes make the moment they get their first paycheck?
Oh, this is a good question. I heard one time to where it says a lot of times what happens. Honestly, I'll take it from a college standpoint, but one thing I heard was a lot of times when guys get the check, the first thing we tend to do is help everybody that helped us get there instead of setting up our future self first.
Got it.
And then go back and help everybody else. And so when I heard that, I was like, that's a different type of mindset.
Right.
You kind of got to be exposed to that mindset, or somebody has to say it to you. And then the question comes, what do you mean by that? Like, what do I mean by set up your future self? It's like, all right, if I'm getting this money at 18, all right, what is my 28-year-old self saying and depending on like my 18-year-old self right now?
Right. Right.
Like, because now then it goes to what is my 38-year-old self saying? Like, if I squander this opportunity with this money, now what does life look like? How much harder is it? So if I can go ahead and set myself up, how do I set myself up? Hey, let's start reading books. I didn't read a book a day in my life until I met my mentor in the business I'm in. And the first book he put in my hand was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
There you go.
You know, so I told the kid this today. I was like, hey, I want you to get Rich Dad Poor Dad. I want you to get The Psychology of Money. And then I want you to start reading Atomic Habits.
There you go. There you go.
So those are practical steps of like setting up your future self. It's just like start learning the language so you can be involved in your finances, in your business, and you're just not handing it over to people and you don't know your routing and account number.
Right. Right. That pretty much, Devon, I hope that answered your question. Devon asked, what do you say to an athlete who thinks financial planning is something they'll deal with later? He's a freshman D2 running back.
Say it one more time for me.
What do you say to an athlete who thinks financial planning is something they'll deal with later?
there is no, it's like you got to tell yourself there is no such thing as later.
There you go.
Like you got to say, like, I need to start learning now. It's like you don't have to know everything, but if you can just start learning the basics, like that's why I mentioned the book Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Right.
Psychology of Money. And like you start learning the language, and then you pay attention to how you use your money, how you spend your money. Like you focus on that, and then you just build on it, because you need to start learning it early. Because if I ask Aaron, if I ask Thomas, if I say what is one thing you wish you would have did sooner, you always say, tell my 18-year-old self, or when I first started making money, do this instead of do this. Put this off instead of. So it's like everybody says the same thing.
Right.
So now we're just trying to make sure that the next generation is not saying the same thing that we're going to say.
That's it. And what should every athlete be doing right now, whether they're 16 or 26, to prepare for life after the game?
Separate yourself. It's kind of like how I started the call when you asked me, who am I?
Right.
Like, you're not defined by what you do.
Bingo.
So separate yourself, like your identity, like away from the game, and learn who you are as a person, learn what you like to do. Like I was talking to one of my boys the other day, and he was like, yeah, I'm getting into real estate development. But he started doing that while he was playing the game, to figure out what he liked.
Right.
So like, don't wait to figure out what you like. Go ahead and start figuring it out. It's not, and don't think in your head is like, oh, I'm working on my plan B. It was like, no. You're just working on your next plan A.
That's it.
Because we all got to take the cleats off at some point.
That's it. Now, you said something really important. You've kind of led back to it. And that's something that Aaron and I talk about with a lot of the athletes, is you got to have a mentor, right? When you get to college, you want to look to the upperclassmen. When you get to the pros, you want to look at some of the veterans. What's the one conversation you wish someone had sat down and had with you before your career ended?
Start reading. Like, start reading the books. Like, if you want to hide something from people, just put it in the book.
Got it.
No, nobody like the answers are in the books.
Right.
So if you start reading 15 minutes a day, start reading 10 pages a day, listen to audiobooks 15 minutes a day about like what you want to learn, or whatever craft like you want to get good at outside of football, like start learning it, and then go find someone in that craft that you can now be an apprentice to.
Right.
Where you can understand like how business works, or how the stock market works. Just learn the language of whatever you feel like you can pursue, want to be good at.
That's awesome. And Shawn, you had a strong household. What should sports parents be doing financially to prepare their athlete before the money ever hits?
Oh, definitely setting boundaries.
Okay.
We call it SOPs, standard operating procedures.
Okay.
So if you set a standard of like, all right, like we're all going to speak the same language of what this is going to look like. Like, if we don't want the money gone, we can't do things that will allow for the money to be gone.
Right.
So set the standard operating procedures and meet with one another, because that way when outside voices start to come in that's not a part of the team, now you can have discernment and identify, this is not the language that our family uses, and this is not how we operate.
Right.
So no, you cannot be a part of this village. You can't be a part of this team.
Right.
But everybody has to be on the same page.
100%. And what's the one thing you tell a sports parent watching tonight to do before their kid ever signs a contract, whether that's a scholarship, NIL, or a pro contract?
Get a lawyer. Get a lawyer that definitely aligns with your beliefs, your values. You're just not gonna be a yes man or say no to everything and everything is bad. But just like that's one thing. And then like AI is a good tool. I like Claude, like CLAUDE. Like Claude is not a yes man. Chat GPT is yes man.
Got it.
So
Good point.
So you can use AI to even help you, with things that you get, and then set up a checking account, because a lot of these, everybody's a 1099. I'm 1099. The athletes are 1099. They're not like pro guys that's W2. So all these guys are 1099. You're an independent contractor, so you need to set up a separate account. You need to set up LLC. You need to set up a high yield savings account. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is just suggestions. That's my disclaimer.
Got it.
I'm getting in trouble. But so it's like you set up the accounts, and now your money is not getting tied together, and each dollar has a job to do. And you can assign it. You don't have to get into investing. Just do the basics first.
For sure. Shawn, let's have a little fun. Other than yourself, who are the top 3 DBs of all time?
Ooh, top 3 DBs of all time.
DBs or safeties?
Deion Sanders.
Okay.
Ed Reed.
No doubt.
And then my 3, this is kind of, it's selfish. I like it. I love his play style. It's a tie.
Give us both.
I have to give 2. Like Patrick Peterson.
Okay.
I'll give 2 corners. Like I love Patrick Peterson. I love Deion Sanders.
Sure.
And I love Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu.
Oh yeah. See, Troy's at one of mine. John Lynch and Rodney Harrison. I loved watching those guys. They could bring it. What about? Go ahead, Aaron. What's that?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. Thought you jumped in there. Shawn, top 3 sports movies of all time, according to you.
Coach Boone, Remember the Titans. Friday Night Lights, Booby Mouse. Coach sports movies, Coach Carter.
There you go. Those are some good ones. Aaron, did you want to jump in?
No, I'm good. I'm doing great over here.
Awesome.
I've enjoyed this conversation. I will say, I just want to reinforce, I love your comment about standard operating procedures. Like, what are those for your family? What are your values? And making sure that everything aligns with that. And if they don't stick around. So I was like, that is gold. That is awesome.
Thank you.
No doubt. Shawn, we ask every single guest on Path to the Pros the same final question, and we mean it every time. You played for NC State. You played for the Houston Texans. You built Boone Financial, Next Gen Up, and EC77. You've dedicated your life to making sure the next generation doesn't get caught off guard. What do you want your name to stand for?
A person that was always a servant leader, because servant leaders always make the most impact.
100%.
So Like whether that's, like I said earlier, it's just who am I? It's
Right.
like I'm the guy that's gonna show up as a friend. Like I don't care if I'm down. Like you won't know I'm down, unless you just box me in and you drill me an axe. But like I'm going to show up, like no matter what. And everybody know that about me. And it's just like I always want to make an impact however I can. It can be the smallest thing. It can be giving you a ride. It can be, shooting you some money at some point if it makes sense. Only if it makes sense.
Right.
You have an event. Like I'm if I can, I'm going to show up. And then sometimes I over promise, and somehow it always works. But that's what I want my legacy to be. Somebody who just always showed up and who always served.
I love it. Team, that is Paths to the Pros for this week. Shawn, you are a true pro on and off the field and everything that you've built. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for being real, for being honest, and giving our athletes and families something they can act on tonight, tomorrow, tonight. To everyone watching, share this. Tag an athlete, tag a sports parent, tag a coach. This conversation is too important to keep to yourself. You got to share what Shawn has just dropped. We'll be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Until then, stay off the shortcuts, stay on the path, and remember why you started. This is Blueprint to Bluechip. We build a human being underneath the athlete. We'll see you next week. Shawn, Aaron, thank you for everything you guys do.
Thank you for the opportunity, guys.